All right, next up, we've got a great panel. You guys can come on out. We've got Dave O'Hara from Microsoft, Jim Heckman from Yahoo, and Ned Brody. Oh, you're not Ned. Ned's plane got stuck in fog in DC, and so unfortunately we've had to, or maybe fortunately, we're subbing in Dave Jacobs, SVP of AOL Advertising. Moderator, Randall, you all know him. He's the CEO of the IAB. We were backstage, and he was giving me a detailed point-by-point critique of Felix Salmon. So he has very good stats on everything, and Felix apparently doesn't. And but that's the difference between being a CEO and being a blogger, I will say from personal experience. And finally, I just want to point out that Randall's been driving the IAB's involvement in the exchange world. As many of you know, for the past 7 or 8 years, the IAB hasn't been as deeply involved in the exchange space here in the US. And so with the adoption of OpenRTB and the IAB's sponsorship of that, I'm excited to see what Randall's done to sort of make this all part of the mainstream. So over to you guys.
Thanks, Brian. For the record, I actually liked a lot of what Felix was saying in a cultural context, but the actual statistics on broadband versus cable penetration are broadband penetration is 66% in the US, according to the Pew Center for the Internet and American Life and the FCC, and cable penetration rates in the US are about 61% of households. So broadband actually exceeds cable at this point. Anybody wants to check on those, you're free, or just contact me. It's randall@iab.net. I will not introduce the panel because Brian helpfully introduced everybody, so we'll just kind of launch right in. And the first question is the most obvious question, which is your alliance was one of the worst kept secrets in the history of the digital advertising business. And I think everybody would like to ask the question, what took you so long? But that's, I think we would say, spilt milk under the bridge. So actually, what we'd really like to hear is each of you, in your own words, just a couple minutes each, explain what you think is the most important thing this joint venture will accomplish for yourselves, for your companies, or for the industry as a whole. And also, as a way of kind of dispelling rumors or notions and ideas, what won't it accomplish? What is it not about? Dave, why don't you
Sure,
start?
I'll tee off. And first of all, I'd like to say we were all just shocked that we couldn't talk to an intimate dinner of 150 people and keep it a secret. So we were surprised when it got out. Just a little, yeah. So anyhow, what will it accomplish? I think for us, it's about removing friction from the market. And it's about making it easier for advertisers and publishers to buy and sell. And there are 3 partners sitting at the table today who are saying we want to collaborate and we want to make this the best partnership we can. And let's start with simplicity and let's start with something that works. So some of the comments we've heard is, why isn't there more? I think there's an opportunity for more. But really, it's about removing friction from the marketplace.
More meaning more companies, more publishers involved, or more?
I think it's more and more. I think we can do more together. I think we can do more with more with other partners, which is the second point, which is really an ecosystem play, and it's really about creating an environment where other companies can come in and partner with us and can do collaborative and creative things and see where it goes. So I think this is just the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Jim, what do you think?
Yeah, well, first of all, just wonderful working with Dave and Dave. I think we've built a great friendship between the 3 companies, and really brings companies that have great premium content at scale together. I think we have more in common than we have otherwise. I think what Dave said in terms of making it easier for the buyer, that's the point. So I look at it really through the eyes of the buyer. So what are the challenges now? This isn't 10 years ago. Just being big isn't good enough. I think there's a triple trigger that comes with this alliance, right? So you've got 3 companies with the deepest data pool out there. So you got 3 companies that can give information for advertisers that's important. So data being number 1. Number 2, incredible scale. A lot of people don't realize all 3 of our companies continue to grow. Yahoo continues to get bigger and bigger. We had our biggest year ever. We just went over 700 million uniques. We reached 70% of the whole internet audience in North America. We're 9 out of 10 of the top content categories. We're number 1. A lot of people don't know that. Number 1 in sports, number 1 in finance, number 1 in news, number 1 in entertainment. These two companies obviously right there, as well. So scale, super important for an advertiser to not have to plug into 500 different systems. It's very expensive, brings on negative gross margins. The third thing is a deep branding experience. So I think everybody in this room, and especially you, Randall, understand the biggest opportunity, I believe, right now are major brands moving budgets online. But it's too expensive. It's very hard to have engagement with super high quality, billions of dollars invested in premium content. So what this does is it brings premium brands at scale with data capabilities together with major ad brands. So I think it's incredibly significant. I think it's going to help shift money from offline to online because it's one stop getting the triple trigger.
Right. Dave, what's this about? What's it not about?
Well, I'll just make one clarifying comment. This is not a joint venture between the companies. It's a deep partnership. We're going to be working together for some time here. I'll echo what Jim and Dave said. This is really an opportunity at scale.
Meaning that it's a contractual business relationship, but it is not a separate independent business
correct.
that you co-own.
So we've not created separate
Right.
equity relationships and things of that nature. But as it relates to the opportunity, look, this is about taking brand-safe content at scale, addressing the premium content and premium advertisers that Jim mentioned. And we believe this provides a great opportunity to really facilitate those branding dollars online through premium formats as well, which gives us the opportunity. All of our companies have various capabilities as it relates to premium formats. And we look for this platform opportunity integration to help standardize that process and simplify that process for the buying community.
You know, the talk about premium kind of put me in mind of an image, so I'm going to throw it out there, and then you can attack it or agree or whatever, which is when we think about premium at scale, really efficiently done, it sounds an awful lot like the 3 broadcast networks up front. Except this would be an all-day, every day, 365 days a year, 24/7 upfront market. Is that what you're kind of talking about?
Well, listen, sorry.
Fire away.
Well, listen, I think RTB is interesting, but you cannot plan serious branding campaigns every nanosecond. And so a lot of people don't realize that RTB is still a small percentage of the overall audience spend. So audience targeting at scale is a big deal. And then to address your question, by having all this scale together, by us being able to look at the audience, check against the data, and know that we've got 13.5 million uniques, 25 to 36, living in Southern California, and be able to have that available for the agencies, means that they can do upfronts with us. Very difficult with a small media company. If you talk about 10 million uniques, you do that kind of filtering, you end up with, my brother or, sister. And so, having that scale will allow kind of a new generation of upfronts. I think that's a
new generation. I should have said, what I should have said, it's like a 24/7, 365-day a year automatically clearing scatter market for the for premium. That's really what's going on, but it then allows a form of upfront planning that would not have been possible, that was not possible before.
Very difficult.
But is it all about efficiency? You talked about efficiency. I mean, all 3 of you have talked. I mean, is this more about just taking complexity cost out of the supply chain than it is about anything else? I'm kind of interested if it goes beyond an efficiency play.
Yep, it's not just complexity, I would say. So even to tackle the previous question of premium, the way the agreement works is that we're all going to maintain our own sales forces, and if you want inventory off a Microsoft property, or if you want inventory off a Yahoo property or AOL property on a reserve basis, you should go to those sales forces. And so what it's not is sort of taking everybody's inventory and throwing it in a big pile. But it is saying if that inventory doesn't get sold by one of those sales forces, it'll be available through the exchange. So it's a huge breadth of inventory. And it goes to the point of scale, which is there's a lot more scale here. I know some of the things we've heard are, hey, it's just a bunch of low-value remnant inventory. And we think it's a lot more than that.
Well, tell me, because that has been one of the preliminary critiques, that
yes.
it's kind of, it's fishing in the bottom of the barrel.
Right. So again, it's everything that we don't sell ourselves on a reserve basis. So there's a lot of inventory in there. The second part, which is an opportunity for all of us, is it is an opportunity to add more value to that inventory. So Microsoft has Microsoft's data and Microsoft's inventory. If Yahoo or AOL can buy that inventory and add data to it that we can't, there's more value there. There's more value for advertisers and publishers. And so it's the technology underlying it and the efficiency is super critical, but that's just a piece of it. I think it's really about how much value can we add. So it's in some ways it's the opposite of what's being perceived, which is we're trying to take what has historically been lower value inventory and add more value to it through the process.
But let me probe you on that, because I remember we had one of the seminal IAB board meetings that I presided over was one, we used to have battles in every board meeting where premium publishers would point at the networks and say, you're commoditizing our inventory, and the network CEOs would kind of shrug their shoulders and say, we're not selling anything you're not giving us. And I remember in one of those, I naively asked the question, because they were all talking about remnant this, remnant that, how do you guys define remnant? And the answer was, well, anything we don't sell at a premium becomes remnant. And from just a pure supply-demand economics analysis, that was really one of the things that helped contribute to declining CPMs, enormous production of volume, inventory in volume, and then not a lot of yield management over that to conserve and protect segments and pricing. So how, from a practical standpoint, if you're going to take things that are not premium, that's not being sold by your direct sales force, putting it into this pot, how are you going to protect your overall pricing? I mean, one of the analogies I use is that, look, Virgin Airways, American Airlines, they sell their unsold seats. They put them in bucket shops, but they never put their first class seats there.
Right, well, let me put some clarity to this real quickly. So the world's changed a lot in the last 5-10 years. The word remnant came from kind of remnant carpet, right? You've got the big piece of carpet, and then you've got the scraps around the edge. And when the internet was small, sales forces could go out and sell at 80-90% of their inventory. And it was indeed remnant that was kicked off to back when DoubleClick was a sales shop. Today, if you're a major advertiser, you typically ask for the front page of the site, right? If your CMO that you're working for goes to ESPN.com, if they don't see that ad, they're not happy. They don't want to be clicking for it. So for the most part, class 1 inventory, that's what we call it at Yahoo, these are sponsorships of the front page. And as you know, Randall, over the last couple of years, I've been visiting all those major media companies asking that question. That leaves roughly 70 to 80% of all inventory with major media sites, and that's consistent with Yahoo as well, as unsold. Okay? Unsold just means non-sponsorships, non-front page sponsorships. For the most part, that's what this inventory is. No longer remnant. It's actually the supermajority of inventory. I'd even go further to say that if you come to the front page, you're not going to come to the front page, you're going to find the piece of content that is the highest engaged content. So when you actually land at a destination, that's the highest engagement opportunity. So I would argue that it's great content, it's most of the content, it's just not a sponsorship. And then when you layer on data targeting, et cetera, I mean, I think it's incredibly valuable.
But why?
I'm sorry, Dave.
I just want to add on to Jim's point, what we've seen is at AOL, non-reserved inventory is a great way to actually push prices higher for reserved rather than the opposite. And in this type of an environment, all we're doing is facilitating more sources of demand. So to the extent we can use more sources of demand to push reserved prices higher, that's actually a good thing.
But why is it, this is actually a good opportunity for me, because one of the things I do quite naturally is play dumb. But why is it so difficult to sell? I mean, in a digital environment, which is still in no small part search-driven, where people are going to places they want to go to because they're going to find something they want to find, where, in effect, your back page can be my front page, and that will happen millions of times a day. Why is it so difficult to sell that? either as a sponsorship or as custom or as direct sold premium of some other sort. Why is it that 70 or 80% of that remains unsold? What are we doing wrong in this industry relative to other parts of the media industry?
Well, I think it's a different story for every type of content. At AOL, we have certain pages that sell through at 90%. We have other pages like AOL Mail, AOL News, Huffington Post areas that have lower sell-through rates. So it really varies by content type. And I think to Jim's point, the major marketers, they have a strong affinity for having those premium placements and not hunting and pecking for the actual placements that they paid a premium for.
Let's pick up on the last point, because I'd really love to know how you expect this alliance and the work you're doing will translate into higher yields and to a higher market share for unsold inventory. Can you walk through the process and the way it translates into better pricing for you and for other publishers who might at some point affiliate with you?
Hey, Randall, I think we're missing the macro point. So when you ask why is it so difficult to sell, really you need to finish the sentence. Why is it so difficult to sell a sponsorship for the entirety of your site? So just people don't do that. They're looking for a BAM, the front page, okay? You don't drive your entire advertising budget with a sponsorship any more than you wouldn't run your entire budget sponsoring Super Bowls, right? Eventually, you've got to target audiences. And 10 years ago, 99 or 95% of all the money were sponsorships, class one. As audience technology, as the growth of data-driven budgets have grown, the feedback that I get from the agency side is it's maybe 70% last year. They're going to possibly go over 50% for the next year, possibly 2013. So you have two totally different buyers. You've got a sponsorship type buyer, and then you have a highly technical trading desk or ad agency that's looking not at context, not at a sponsorship, but they're looking for auto intenders for GM. They're looking for somebody going to the movie that night.
Well,
right?
and right now, one of those
different budget.
Right. Well, and different budget and different intent. The sponsorship buyer is actually a brand buyer who's looking to push a return on brand equity. A lot of those other buyers, and probably the majority of the inventory right now, is direct response or promotional inventory. Those are the goals, the objectives that they're trying to. So I want to get back to the other question, but let's pursue this line for a bit. So will this draw more of that unsold inventory out of the below-the-line bucket, the promotional and direct response bucket, and make it more appropriate, better for those who are trying to drive other more brand-oriented goals? Do you see that happening, or is it more efficiency for below-the-line inventory?
There's three buckets. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I think those lines start to get blurry.
Okay.
Right. So I think direct response, brand measurement, the outcomes-based marketing is the way we think about it, and that can be made visible in a number of different ways.
So a blending of what we call brand performance is
Correct.
the phrase I've been using.
Correct. And I think collectively, infusing more sources of demand should push those yields higher, and we expect we'll see that.
Mm-hmm. So that's how you see the pricing and market share increases working. It's just kind of increasing demand because you're making this inventory more visible, more transparent, and easier to buy.
Yeah, and I think we collectively and individually need to do a better job of packaging that and explaining that and adding value through data. Mm-hmm. But that's exactly right. It's sort of the inverse of what people are assuming, which is it's low value inventory. We do think we can drive up yield that way. Right.
How does it, talk to me a bit about how it helps marketers. So in going to clients, and you've obviously been having preliminary conversations. When you're going either directly to a major marketer or going through the agencies at a high level where people are really talking about marketing objectives, how are you explaining this helping them?
So I can go, I would say that first thing is it's, when we get it implemented, it'll make it easier to buy. And so they can have a more breadth of inventory to buy and they can buy it all in one spot, or they can continue to collaborate the way that they are. So I think there will be good good packaging and good offers that they can take advantage of. I do think that through what each of our parties will do, to sort of repeat what I said last time, is I think we'll do a much better job of giving them an audience to sell to. So instead of being as simple as brand and performance, we'll be able to go in with some different value propositions that they can turn around and use with marketers, and we'll give them the data, along with the inventory that allows them to help do that. I think it's just a better story to tell.
Okay. People in this audience, especially, because there are a lot of technical folks here, are really interested in the interoperability issues and about how you're going to work that through. There have been questions about what happens to Right Media, what happens to Microsoft's Exchange. How do you expect to work through the interoperability issues? What's your kind of short-term and then longer-term vision for how you align yourselves in the underpinnings?
I'll speak as the outside party that's not going to immediately be using or in tech. So AOL currently will, in the near term, will be either placing some of that inventory through Right Media or AppNexus at our discretion. And we're going to work through that while AppNexus and Right Media is deep in discussions around interoperability. And we're going to evaluate what we're already doing, which is building out our ad tech platform as an ad exchange biddable platform, as well as other opportunities to place our inventory more long-term.
Now, as Brian said, as you guys know, IAB recently agreed to take over the operations of the OpenRTB consortium. Do you like that, or do you not like that? Do you want this to be?
That's good.
Do you want open, or do you want?
It's a good move. Open is very good. I think speaking on behalf of Microsoft, and I know AppNexus has stated that they're very supportive of that. So that's a good move.
Great.
Hey, one thing I just want to make sure we make clear. Number one, it's not a joint venture. Number two, we're not collapsing Right Media and AppNexus exchanges into one. Not one is carrying this alliance over the other. I think we've really been some confusion in the marketplace about RMX, about Right Media. We really have invested a tremendous amount of resources recently into our exchange. We've added hundreds of heads, over the summer, focused on scale, focused on new technologies, being ready for this alliance. So I think, really want to clear up the confusion. Not that in the past that maybe it's been underinvested, but we are doubling, tripling down our efforts to do a great job for our partners here. AppNexus is doing a great job as well. Probably not going into the details on our interoperability, but suffice it to say, you can go to Microsoft, you can access all the inventory through that sales channel. You can go to AOL, do the same thing, and you can come to us. The second piece of confusion, if you don't mind, because I just want to make sure we get it out there, is people saying, well, gee, that would be very confusing if you can buy the same stuff from 3 companies. Why do that, right? And that makes sense that you'd think that. But here's the interesting thing. We're not sharing data, okay? Microsoft has a very, very proprietary data. They've got privacy issues against that. So do we. So does AOL. Together, I may know that you're looking for a car because you're searching for that on Yahoo.
And you're all founding members of both the NAI and the DAA, so I want to get that out on the table.
We need to respect those issues. At Microsoft, they may know that your wife's in the same PC and looking for holiday cards, right? So we all have our kind of intenders, behavior, profiles that are very, very different, totally proprietary. And so if you're Cadreon and you want to make a buy for autos, we may have certain data that Microsoft or AOL doesn't. And so there's a reason to shop from all 3. But the great thing is that now we've got 3 times the reach. So in effect, it's 3 times 3 of the biggest data pools on Earth. So I think it's very elegant, and I hope that explains the confusion.
I want to invite the audience to ask questions. The microphones are set up. While we're waiting for people to assemble at the microphones, I want to address some of the larger, I like the big picture. And so there's some big picture things that I wanted to ask you guys to reflect on. One is, as you know, there has been a defection of brand marketers from formatted advertising to things like custom, like sponsorships, and in recent 2 or 3 years to social, because they see that as more able to build their kind of brand affinity with consumers. Do you think that this kind of big scale play around premium and non-premium inventory can stem that defection and kind of reintroduce, in effect, rebuild the relationship between brand marketers and formatted advertising?
It's actually our hope that through this alliance, we're going to do a better job addressing standards in a RTB-enabled fashion for a lot of these units. So a lot of the discussions that have been part of the agreement have been around how can we interoperate platforms across all of our various rich media and premium formats.
So like the IEB Rising Stars units will be
right,
able to be...
Like the Devil unit and,
right.
and the various other Dapper type
Great.
units, et cetera.
Question there from Jay Sears.
Hey, Jay Sears with the Rubicon Project. And my question is, your premium sales forces, I mean, arguably the three of you guys together have the biggest, the best, the most effective, the most global digital ad sales forces in the world. Those guys have always been a little concerned about some of the stuff we're talking about today. What kind of questions are they asking you guys to get comfortable and embrace the three-way?
So this is the sales force?
Who's they?
I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna let that go. This is the sales force you're asking about?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, well, when we explain to our sales force, first of all, I would agree that we all have very good sales forces, and that's part of the benefit of it is our sales forces are all confident. And so when they ask for the details of how is this all going to work, and we explain it, they go, great. So then all we have to do is go execute. And each of them are confident they're going to execute in the marketplace. So it's all very positive. The way we explain it really simply is there's a few things that are going to dictate how successful each of the companies will be in the environment. First of all, I do think literally all boats float higher. I firmly believe that. But there's a few things we need to do. One is sell better, package better, have a better value prop, have a better offering. That's sort of one. Two is, again, on the data point, we need to do a better job than we have. All of us need to do a better job of adding data and adding value. And three is we do have to make the technology underlying it seamless. Going back to the question of the exchange, really the design principle of the deal was let's focus on what we can do now, and everybody can follow their own strategies independently. So we look for the best blend of what can we do together while still maintaining differentiation. So I think when we explain it to the sales forces, they understand that. They take the challenge. All three of them are taking the challenge. We've heard questions. I haven't heard any reservations.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Zach Collius from Triggit. So you guys, first of all, I have to applaud you for embracing the marketplace and the ecosystem that's been evolving over the last few years. It's really great to see you guys here doing that. But one of the most important parts of a marketplace and an ecosystem is the diversity of players and having a lot of players interacting and buying and selling. So the question is, are you going to allow independent players to have access to your inventory? Is this opening up your inventory to the whole marketplace and the ecosystem, or is it just the three of you who are going to be buying and selling from each other?
Well, effectively, we're going to be working amongst the three of us to set those rules and to decide how we can drive the highest value for our respective inventory pools.
And the agreement allows us all to make independent decisions. So I would say there won't be a uniform approach. Some of us may take a more open approach, and some of us, may be more selective in who can buy. And so it's not going to be, we don't all have to follow the same rules there. What we wanted was the ability to.
Well, you're asking about independent publishers, right?
Or buyers.
Or buyers. So let's ask the publisher story. Are you anticipating bringing other publishers, independent publishers into the network?
We already have. AOL has some great partners. For sure, and Microsoft as well, Viacom, Fox Sports, et cetera. We've been running a network representing major media for many years, and Yahoo has 1,100 distribution partners, work with most major media companies. We've got monetization agreements there. So it's not a new concept that Yahoo leverages at scale for the media companies. So if you take name any of them arbitrarily, I'm not saying we're representing them, but the ABC, NBC, ESPN, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Great brands, very difficult for them to get deep data on 220 million unique users and spend billions of dollars on technology. So we think that it's a good thing that we can bring our technology and make other publishers more efficient so they can focus on content.
Great. Yes.
Hi, St. Thomas from Audience Amplify. And so actually, I kind of want to take the opposite view to kind of what Zach said, which is really not so much adding more additional publisher inventory to the mix, but I think the kind of really good way to encapsulate the relationship between you three is really a kind of basically arbitraging audience insights. So you're basically bringing different insights onto each other's inventory to boost value, which is really kind of creating an entirely new tier of demand overall for your inventory. So in the same sense, I think a lot of other publishers, for example, that may have very transparent B2B segments and stuff like that are very, very high CPM, would want access to your inventory. So can they actually be able to bring their own data to play in your ecosystem?
Well, today, at least at AOL, we have a opportunity for buyers and agencies to bring their own data partnerships to bear. And if that means we extend that across all three of these as well as the other 4,000 sites in our network, that's hopefully going to drive more value for us. And ultimately, the bidder and the buyer that's able to drive the most yield is going to win those individual ad impressions.
Right.
Hey,
Go ahead.
one thing that Dave said that I just want to make clear. Our agreement makes it very clear that each one of the partners can make their own rules. And so, I think that, in terms of hitting the marketplace, we're not going to get in a room, create the rules, and then go to market with it. So I don't know if you needed to add on that, but
Yeah, and it's exactly right. It's about removing friction. It's not about trying to set the rules for the marketplace. The marketplace will do that.
Right. Joanna?
Hi, I'm Joanna O'Connell. I'm an analyst at Forrester. I write for interactive marketers on the buy side. So this is a buy side question. I just want to make sure I'm crystal clear. What can be accessed through programmatic channels through this partnership versus what must be accessed through direct sales forces?
Well, I'll just
Stump the panel.
Must is a strong word. We will give all of our sales forces, respectively, the first chance to go out and sell our inventory on a reserve basis. Anything that they don't sell on a reserve basis will be accessible through the exchanges.
Okay, so like if you're a trading desk, you could go via your DSP and access, if it's unsold, Microsoft segments on Yahoo inventory through your DSP.
I think the clarifying statement I would make is all of us individually are going to make the decisions about whether they want to allow that trading desk to buy on each other's respective inventory sets. So it's not that no, it's not allowed. It's just we're going to be making those individual decisions in a transparent fashion between the three companies.
That should be really interesting.
I think she's right.
So listen, I don't think it's actually that complicated. We've spent about 4 hours a day with each other for 6 months, and just to give the answer so it isn't confusing. So, number one, each buying group does a direct, contextual, transparent brand sale. That's class one. Number two, our combined inventory is very easily available in terms of the interoperability plan that we've got, so that our sales force can sell reserved audience buys. Okay, so I want 24 to 36 women during this week. We can execute that. We don't have to call up, get on the phone. We're interoperating. It's pretty simple. Third, programmatic buying. And I do see it as three distinct methods of buying.
Okay. We're out of time. I want to ask you one last kind of curveball question. It's not really a curveball because I prepared you for it.
You don't need to tell them that.
I know. But I believe in transparency. It's the nature of the business. But when I hear what you're up to, when I see all the things that are, and I listen to all the things that are being discussed at this summit and other conferences like it, I really wonder about the evolution of media procurement. Because it seems to me more and more and more that these technologically enabled, in this case consortium, but technologically enabled scale plays are effectively able to meet marketer needs on their own without necessarily requiring the intermediation of media agencies. So I want you to project forward. And I know you're not going to say, yes, we're out to disintermediate the agencies. You're not going to say that, and you can't say that. But I want you to project forward and describe how you see value chain relationships evolving among publishers, marketers, and agencies as this new form of technological enablement takes hold.
You want me to go first?
I do.
I would say we're certainly, agencies have proved very nimble throughout the years. Agencies will continue to prove very nimble. And they will continue to find ways to add value. I think as a trend, it's safe to say that the buying and selling of inventory will become more automated as time goes on. But there's a lot of other higher value ways that agencies can also, play in the process. So it's really about the evolution of all of the companies involved. I think the point was made earlier about ad networks. People have predicted the death of ad networks for a decade, and ad networks keep evolving and keep adding value. And agencies are the same way, and they'll continue to do the same thing.
James?
Yeah. I think those are two separate questions. First of all, there's a lot of brilliant people here in the room who are, inventing ridiculously efficient technologies and extracting value out that we haven't even thought about yet that's coming. And I think that in between the agency and Yahoo, for example, we want to make sure they have the ability to leverage that technology. And so we're not, walking away from that. So there'd be a lot of opportunity to play in a very big sandbox now, and so I think that's good news. I do want to make it really clear Yahoo's strategy is to partner with agencies. We have no intent ever to marginalize their position. They're the ones thinking about budgets, campaigns, important technology. They are Yahoo's partner, period.
Great. Dave, last word.
So I'm going to make just one clarifying statement to what Jim was following up on, which is I just want to make sure it's clear that buyers won't be able to just buy a 3-publisher bundle through this. It's actually part of each of our respective broader ad networks. So while they will be able to access all 3 of us as part of a transparent list of publishers that we're working with, this isn't a 3-publisher bundle type of an opportunity. To your question, I think the market's going to sort out the value chain. I think ultimately the publishers, as long as yields go higher, the market for the publisher net, the market will sort out the rest. One could argue data providers are getting too much money now. Maybe yes, maybe no. I think that'll get sorted out over time.
Great. Well, please join me in thanking Dave O'Hara, Jim Heckman, Dave Jacobs. And thank you for your questions.
Good. That worked. Very good.
Good. Great job. Nice job, Ned. Hey, good job. Thanks, Randall. All right. Well, that was fantastic. Thanks again, Randall, for moderating that panel. We've had quite an incredible day. Started off, we heard Felix Salmon tell us that the world is going to end and that advertising is dead. And later on, we heard Cyril Zimmerman tell us, Europe's fine. This is all good. It's not the French Revolution. So I guess it's all a matter of perspective. We had some great discussions. We heard about CPX, what they're doing with AppNexus as a platform. And then we saw the AppNexus apps platform and what that means. I was backstage and I was already getting emails from folks in the room saying, when can we launch our app? Tomorrow. Tomorrow you can launch your app if you've been building it for the last few months. Otherwise, you can start working on it tomorrow. And then I thought that last panel was really fascinating. Joanna, great job stumping them. Well done. I think that there's still some details to be worked out, but I don't think it downplays how important this is to see the commitment the portals are making to interoperability, to exchanges, and really, if you read between the lines, to openness. Open doesn't mean that everybody has to do exactly the same thing. It doesn't mean there's one set of rules that we all play by. Open means that every participant, each of you, each of them, the agencies, everybody else, can choose how they want to work together. And that was the idea behind the first exchange we launched at Right Media many years ago. It's built into the DNA of AppNexus, and all of us believe in this. We exist in an ecosystem, unlike social, unlike search. In the display world, openness is inherent. The third-party tags that we put on every page give us the ability to integrate content, to integrate advertising, to do things that in a closed environment you just can't do. If you want your Facebook page to flash pink and purple, I'm sorry, that's MySpace. You've got to do it Facebook's way. in display, if you want your website to be pink and purple, I can give you 20 or 30 different ways to do that. In fact, it might be an AppNexus app any day now. So I'm thrilled to be part of this ecosystem. I'm so glad that we've all continued to be committed to being open. I think the statements that AOL and Microsoft and Yahoo have made really indicate that as they work through the relationship, they're going to be part of, and they're going to keep this ecosystem wide open for all of us. That's a big deal. So thank you all for joining today. There's a couple of things. One is, I forgot to thank Mike Ruby, the saxophonist who played this morning. Excellent job. He and his quartet will be playing again afterwards, but a quick round of applause. I'd really like to thank the AppNexus marketing team, Lisa, Leah, and Mark especially. You guys have worked. They pulled an all-nighter last night. My slides were not done until about 5 minutes before we started. I heard Lisa pick up her phone and say, "Okay, you can go to sleep now," right before I went on. That's true. Mike heard it too. So they did a great job, and I really appreciate all the hard work they do. I also want to thank Emily Johnson, who was up there running the apps from the booth. That was all fake. It was actually Emily doing screenshots real fast. So the AppNexus team did a great job today, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for the hard work and commitment. One more thing. We have a cocktail party tonight at PhD downtown. You've all received an invite. Everyone on the wait list who couldn't get in and is hopefully watching online, you guys are invited too. Should be a great event, great chance to network. But before that, we've got a great lunch downstairs. So thank you all for coming. Please enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you in 6 months in San Francisco.